Hello everyone! It is time to reevaluate the largest campaigns of the last year. That's right, we are taking a look in this two-part series. We're going to take a look at every single board game campaign that crossed the $1 million threshold last year, and we're going to evaluate them. Now, we've had a year to digest, right? Or in some cases, a couple weeks, and it'll give us a chance to do a little bit of a retrospective. What games were good, what games still are bad, and what games might actually be worth your time. You can treat this as a little bit of a late pledge idea. You know, if you didn't end up spending enough money in the past year, there are 38 campaigns that we're going to cover. A few of them are cheats, but we'll cover those at the very beginning. And so that means at least over $38 million were raised in terms of board gaming. Most of these raised 2 to 3 to 4 to 11 million. And so I think we can conservatively say, as we go through, and we'll do the math as we go through, that it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that these campaigns raised over $100 million. That's my bet. My bet is over $100 million. We'll see if I'm right by the end of the video. And let's get into it. I'm pretty sure these are all the campaigns. However, Gamefound is still awful in terms of giving you any way to search their backlog and their history, and they just forced existing campaigns upon you. And so we might have missed one. I did miss Andromeda's Edge until I was going through my own listing and thought, oh yeah, Andromeda's Edge existed this year as well, way back in February 2023. And so there might be an omission, and if there is, I guess it wasn't that memorable to begin with. So let's get to honorable mention number 1. This isn't even covering the RPGs. I was going to cover some memorable RPGs like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle RPG and some other fun ones that I thought looked cool as I was scrolling through. But there were a ton of RPGs that raised a bunch of money. This is just strictly board gaming and tabletop adjudicant, close to it, near and far, next to it, something of that nature. I didn't really want to rank this in terms of what games were the most exciting to me, because it's not a game, it's a table, but I did want to give a shout out. It was pretty cool that this Gamefold actually raised $2.5 million. This was the gaming table that can do more, a folding table. Oh, the campaign's over. Campaign's over. The folding table with some rails on it for $250 instead of, you know, $1,000 as it usually is. I thought this one just seemed fine to me. I don't really have a use for it. I like to leave things up and down. But as far as like affordable options go, this seemed pretty legit, and I love that people are excited about it. So way to go, Gamefold. This was an idea that came into fruition and delivered exceptionally, and I think people are still happy with it, and I assume it will still deliver. Oh, please respond to questions. Seems like they responded to the questions. It's right in the front page. Yeah, welcome to the internet, Gamefold. I'm sorry to tell you that even if you put up videos saying, hey, I'm going to give you positives and negatives, if there's anything negative, people will scream and shout. But those people are stupid. So you get some, you win some, you lose some. There's some stupid people in every campaign. Are we starting off 2024 spicy? I think we are. I think I got a couple really annoying comments recently. Maybe I'll highlight them. I don't know. They're not even that annoying. I get them all the time. But I think I'm just... Anyway, let's get moving. So this Isofarian Guard and the next one, which we're going to cover, are kind of a cheat. Because it says project funding $1.2 million Canadian. Gamefound has this listed. Gamefound has this listed as raising $1.266 million. And I thought, wow, that's weird. I didn't remember it raising that much. And that's because it didn't. It raised 933. And are we splitting hairs here by not including it in the list? Yes. Because we have to abide by some sort of rules. And if we take into account like funding after the fact, for those of you who don't know, board game campaigns generally raise about an additional 50% of funding in the pledge managers. That's what happens. People come to it late. People make their decision 2 months down the road. That's why the pledge manager exists for such a long time. And so because of that, a lot of games will cross that $1 million threshold. And that's exciting. That's really good. But they also don't fall into my, 5 reasons you shouldn't back category, which is also what this list is sort of based upon. Right? I like to make this list at the end of the year after I've spent a year slamming down why you shouldn't buy campaigns and then make you regret all of your decisions that you've ever made in your life. Not just those, but in your lifetime. You shouldn't have done it. You know what I'm talking about, and you shouldn't have done it. You should have done the other thing. Remember that thing that you were really hemming and hawing about, and you went for that other option? You should have gone to door number B. That's all I'm saying. you screwed up. You screwed up and you will never recover from this. So why not just enjoy playing board games here with the rest of us who also make those poor decisions. So it raised 933, and so it's not eligible for this on the list, but I think it would be in the top half of the list if it was. This is sort of a solo-only game of bag building, and I blew my mind about Rule Pop, the rule-popping rule book that is also incorporated. It seems like a really easy way to learn. It seems like a really well-thought-out system in terms of campaigns, and yeah, it seems cool. I think it definitely beats pretty much every campaign game on this list for my own personal preference, but it didn't raise $1 million, so you don't get a mention, even though here's your mention. And for the other one, that would have been probably top of list. You can see it raised $1.1 million Canadian. Actually, I don't know if it would be, because I backed this. I spent money on this. I got suckered into a group buy when all I really wanted was the base game, which I could have gotten for 50% cheaper than the pledge, than the amount of money that I spent on the expansion and the shipping. But I got suckered in a group buy because I had a moment of weakness. And I like saving money on shipping, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll try the Supermoon. I genuinely believe that this expansion will not be good. I think it's going to be a detriment to the original game. That's what I think. I'm sorry, Adam's Apples Games. See, it says it raised $1.2 million US, and then when you view the original campaign, now that we've switched over, it's actually raised 837, right? So I can't cover everything because a lot of games are at that threshold. So Planet Unknown doesn't, you get an honorable shout out just because I did actually back this one, and I am actively excited about it. You should play it on Board Game Arena if you haven't. It's a really, really slick game, and I think the addition of the moon is going to be nonsense, and there's no point. And the reason I went into the bundle is because I wanted those 6 extra planets. And so essentially, I didn't want anything else. I didn't want the Deluxified components. I didn't want the expansion, and I didn't want to pay for shipping. But instead of just going to my store and paying 80 bucks Canadian for it, I decided to pay almost $200 Canadian for it because I wanted the extra planets. And do I regret this? Yes. Yes, I do. But am I happy that it's all coming my way? Yes, I am. Anyway, it's a fantastic game. I'm going to be going to a little convention, the Niagara Board Gaming Convention, coming up soon, Niagara Board Game Weekend. It's just like a big game meetup. I think tickets for that are sold out. Tickets, though, are probably not sold out if you want to go to a gaming convention that I'll also be at, called Level Up. It's in New Jersey, February 1st to the 4th, 2nd to 4th. I don't know. Use the code Chris2024, though, to get 10 bucks off that. Because why not? I like these conventions, this style of convention, because you just get to play a lot of games. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what my #1 game that I play at Niagara this year will be. And that will be in an upcoming video. But Planet Unknown was my #1 last year, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And it still holds up. I played it on Board Game Arena. Just really excited for this to land. But I think the expansion is nonsense, and everybody here overpaid. Okay. So those are the caveats. Those are the caveats that are gone. We're going to get into the actual list. Starting off with, again, sort of adjacent, sort of not. Oh, everything's going to be in Canadian. There we go. Stupid Canadians. But we're starting off last on the list, taking up the number 36 slot, is Ravaged Star tabletop miniature war game. And that's mainly because I'm not a war gamer. This has done really well, though. In the past, they've had another Kickstarter. This isn't their first Kickstarter, or this isn't their first Gamefound that they've done. They did Ravaged Star, Armies of the Veil Touched, and then an addition to that, and both of them raised a bunch of money. This one, unfortunately, was like at the bottom of my list last year, and it's going to be at the bottom of my list again this year, just because I think war games are so expensive to buy in just for them to change the rule set on you. I don't really like that in my games, and so that's why it takes the bottom of the list. But you get an honorable mention. I guess less honorable than Isofarian Guard and Planet Unknown. But here we go. So that's number 36. We're at like 3.6 million right now, if you're keeping track. 4.8 if you include the Gamefold table. Let's do that. Let's bump the numbers up so I hit it. Moving along, this is something that I don't think I covered. And that is a weird thing for me to say, since I try to cover literally every single board game campaign that leaves Kickstarter on my Monday videos. I have covered over 1,700 Kickstarter campaigns, board game crowdfunding campaigns, rather, and I missed this one. But we have the Adventure Time Card Wars, the 10th Anniversary Edition. This video is nonsense, won't tell you anything about it, but you can get the Ultimate Edition. You could have gotten the Ultimate Edition, you still probably can, for 65 bucks. All through this, they just tell you how epic this card game is, and I still don't know how to play. But don't worry, you can do a doubles tournament, so that's nice for you. Anyway, I do kind of know how to play because they do have this lovely how to play section, you know, a third down the page. And it's another sort of head-to-head dueling card game.
So it's just like Duel Monsters.
Pretty much. You have some cards, you're going to play them down, you try to punch each other in the face and reduce each other's hit points to 0. But guess what? This one is also just a clone of Magic, because you're using landscapes. It's different than lands. It's very different than playing lands to play your people. No, you have landscapes to play your Adventure Time characters. And it is different because they're placed onto the landscapes. So it kind of incorporates it and makes it a little bit more sense, makes it make a little bit more sense thematically. I don't know. If you think about Magic, you just have a bunch of lands that you're soaking the power from, I guess, right? For this, the landscape, you're like, nah, I'm a dog, and I'm just sitting on this mountain. Nobody else can sit on this mountain because I'm one single dog. But it's a lane battler. Punch each other in the face, block it. It doesn't really seem that interesting unless that's your style of game, and even still, it doesn't seem that interesting or innovative. I think it's just, if you love Adventure Time, then this could be a solid game, right? No qualms that I don't think it'll be a bad game. I just think it'll be an ordinary game with an Adventure Time theme on it. And since I have no personal attachment to Adventure Time, I have no personal attachment, therefore, to this game. That's number 35, raising 1.5 million. Let's say the count's 1.41, so let's say the count's at 6.2. 6.2. Somebody can do the actual math and tell me how far my estimations are off. Although I did win the gold medal in estimation math in grade 6, so I expect I'm gonna be pretty close. This isn't even estimating math, it's literally just as well. Anyway, moving along to number 34. Yeah, I stand by this choice. We have Stonesaga. Stonesaga is by the team from Open Owl Studios. They did Mythwind, which is a game that you could play for 1 minute or 9 million years. Because it never ends. It has no purpose, no point, and the journey is the destination, right? It's not about the end goal, it's about the journey. I feel like that's going to come up later on this list and pretend that it's innovative, but it won't be because we've just established that Mythwind did it first. But Stonesaga, this, again, it falls into that category of not being my cup of tea for my personal style. I think this is going to be pretty well done. Like, again, I think Ravaged Star is going to be pretty well done. I've heard it's quite fun and nice, and the minis look pretty fun. As a renowned mini painter, that could bring me into it. But I think with Stonesaga, or Stonesaga, it's probably Stonesaga. It's not on the Genesis. It's the genesis of a new era. I think for this, it's just really not my style. It has all the words that I hate. Campaign style, survival crafting board game. No. No, I just can't get on board those sorts of things. But for the people who do like that sort of thing, I can see why they might be interested in it. It was 132 Canadian, that's like $100 US. I think it will do exactly what it says it's going to do. I think people have been happy with Mythwind so far. I think it does deliver that sort of crafting, just sit at a table and move pieces around aimlessly feel. Is that harsh? I don't mean that to be harsh. I just mean, like, that's how it feels to me as somebody who likes purpose and who likes purpose, as if everybody playing this doesn't have purpose. No, stop it. No, who likes a set goal, right? Who likes a finished set full experience in that sort of 2-hour period. And I don't think you're going to get that in this. I think you're going to get a long journey that if you enjoy that progression, you will enjoy. I think it's going to be well produced, but ultimately not for me. That's number 34, coming in at around 1.2 US, because we're still doing in US. So what did I say? Oh, this is good. This is where my math is going to go off. I'm going to forget what I said. Let's say we're at 7.4 million after number 34. Moving along to number 33, Welcome to the Witcher, which has raised, jeez, $5.8 million. But this is where it did not raise that during the original campaign. The original campaign weighed $4.4 million. So again, you can see it's picked up 1.4 in the after pledge. And I kind of like that Gamefound, we can see that. It just makes my own personal bar a little bit harder to see. But it's kind of cool to see the additional people jumping on board, and that incentivizes you to jump on board as well in this completely inane, meaningless, purposeless, overpriced game. I'm being harsh on this because I'm triggered by a comment of somebody who said, provide a balanced take on games on one of these, on my 5 reasons you shouldn't back The Witcher Path of Destiny. I'm like, well, Well, that's literally the structure. The structure of those videos is you talk about what's exciting and then you talk about what's not exciting. Unfortunately, for The Witcher Path of Destiny, there's really nothing in it that is exciting. So maybe it should be lower. However, it is higher because it has the potential of being an all-right game, an all-right sort of drafting placement game. Whereas I know the first three won't appeal to me. This one could appeal to me. I just think it's ridiculously overpriced, and King Domino does exactly what I want from this better. Reviving Kathmandu does exactly what I would get from this better. I think this is marketed in a really weird way, and it's a marketing that's turned me off. It's pushing forward these stories, and these stories that aren't going to have an actual impact on the game. It's not going to feel like a story. It's going to feel like you're putting your little player out and picking one of these two cards, and then doing that again and again. And I think that could be a fun game in itself, but I just think the picture of what you get versus what you actually are going to get is going to be like a big juicy burger and then a real thin patty. And I think you're only going to have yourselves to blame because you didn't investigate it enough to know that nothing matters. And so I know 55 seems like a reasonable price for a game, but they got to add shipping on that. So it actually comes to like 75, and then that's 75 US. And so converted to me in Canadian is like $100 for the same experience that I could get for 50. Very easily 50 or less, 25 with King Domino. So that's why it's so low, not because I think this is going to be actually a bad game. I was kind of hyperbolizing at the beginning, but because I think this one is going to be, I think this one's going to let people down. I think people are going to get this game and they won't have investigated enough, and you'll see it being sold a lot. And I think Witcher Old World didn't do that. I think Witcher Old World delivered on its promise. I don't think this is going to deliver on the promise of this incredible variability and these storytelling moments that it's going to try to give you. I don't think you're going to get that with this. So that's why it's so low, because I really do think that it's, out of all of the 5 reasons you shouldn't back, this is the one that I would not back the most. Really. And that's saying something, but it did raise $4.4 million. That's with our count, so we're at 11.8 million after our 33. Moving along to number 32, we have Marvel United Multiverse. Putting another 4.7 on there. So what are we, 16.5 now? $16.5 million raised as we head to number 32. And Marvel United just edges out The Witcher because people have been saying in an enormous chorus anytime I talk about how I dislike Marvel United, because I played the base game and I really didn't enjoy it. I thought it was a baby game for babies is how I'd like to describe it. No, I didn't feel challenged by it. And so that was one of my main issues, is that challenge, it felt kind of predetermined with the sort of base game in Marvel United, and I've only played the base game, right? I haven't played any of the Kickstarter extras. I haven't played any of the iterations upon that. I haven't played any of the expansions, and I've heard that it sort of ramps up the complexity and things become a little bit more interesting. And so I've heard that in such loud voices that I would be willing to give it a shot over The Witcher, but I don't know, there's other co-op games that I like better. I don't think I necessarily will gravitate towards a co-op game personally. If I had to choose between co-op and competitive, I would probably pick competitive. And so while Multiverse seems fun, I just had such high expectations with Marvel United, and my FOMO for Marvel United X-Men was so high that I really got swept up in it. I almost pledged, and X-Men ended up being the first 5 reasons you shouldn't back video that existed, because I had to talk myself out of it, because I was feeling that so much, because I had to say, listen, the game is available for $20 Canadian at Walmart right now. Go get it and play it. And I did, and I immediately lent it to my neighbor, and just like Renee did with our fish, hope to never get it back. So Marvel United, I think you probably know about it. Like, the minis are fun. Again, as a renowned mini painter, I would enjoy painting these with pristine detail. They saw how much everybody loved Galactus, so they threw him in again, but just this time smaller. I'd be willing to give it another shot with like more complexity, but the gameplay itself doesn't really interest me that much. I don't feel like you have that much agency with your cards, and I don't feel like the characters' asymmetry is different. And it really can't be when you have like 150 characters over the course of all the different Marvel United. So I just never get that feeling of being a superhero and feeling cool like I want to. So that's number 32. We're at, I forget, 16.5. I should really write this down, but I'm not gonna. Moving along to number 31, another game. This one I was really surprised raised over $1 million. This is Botany. We're at 17.5, maybe. $17.5 million. Botany raising $1 million. I think Botany was marketed incredibly well. I think a lot of that has to do with the video of Botany, which is from this one production company, Kagan Productions, who I'm going to write a unique rap for their next like little recap. Their sort of show reel, their sizzle reel of the year. They contacted me because they like my board game rap, and so I'm going to do that for them, which will be exciting. But it's not loading, so you don't get to see how good it is. But it was. I remembered it being a really good video. This one for me is a lot lighter than I think anybody who's firmly entrenched in the board gaming hobby will really enjoy. But I think for new players, people who don't play a lot of games, I think that's who they were appealing to, that's who they reached out to, and that's who they did end up reaching as well. And I think this is an example of, I feel like a lot of the people who get this game will be satisfied by it, because I think it will deliver on its promises. For me, it's just too light. That's what it comes down to. I don't think it's a bad game. I just, when I was really excited about the theme and the going out and the pick up deliver aspect of it, but when I read the rule book, I remember thinking, oh, that's it. And so it feels really light to me, and because of that light rule set, it falls down in this regard. Even though I've always wanted to become the ultimate flower hunter, I think I'll have to hang up my hat or try that in another game. I mean, $39 though, that's nice, right? I mean, it's then $20 shipping, and then converted to Canadian is like $90 for me. So, you know, not for me when I could get Verdant for half that and be the ultimate flower collector. But yeah, really love the art, design, and style on this game. But here, this many unexpected events occurred on these long expeditions. It's going to be a lot of like flip over an event card. Oh no, this thing happens to you. Go back 2 spaces. What do you have in your card? Move a little bit, get a card. It seems okay, but you know, it hits here at number 31. Moving along to number 30, maybe Botany should be above this, but that's the order that past Chris decided on. We have Shadows of Brimstone, Lost Tombs, and the Hell Train. There are 2 different new core sets, the Lost Tombs of Kamuntet and the Impossible Hell Train. This raised $1.4 million, bringing us to 18.9 is our tally. Kind of exciting. Kind of exciting to see how much we've raised. 18.9 at number 30. And so the buy-in here is something that I never would do because I'm not currently a fan of Shadows of Brimstone. I haven't played it before. It's kind of untested for me, and it's sort of an older style game as well. And with these older style dungeon crawler games, it's fun, but I think older systems, unless you've already bought into them and you feel really good about them. Now, I take it back. Older systems are great because they exist, they stand the test of time, but there's often innovation happening in sort of in different genres, right? And so this, which gives sort of the same pulpy feel as that other one that didn't raise $1 million that I forget the name of, I don't really resonate with that sort of pulpy style. I like more of a fantasy dungeon crawler-esque game, even though they got a bunch of demons and Egyptian god cards. But I think it's the pulpiness that I don't often gravitate to, which is strange because everything I do is generally that of a caricature. But I think because I live it so intrinsically, I don't necessarily want to live it in every other aspect of my life. And so yeah, it seemed fine. I think I would enjoy playing it over Botany because there's a little bit more to it, a little bit more involved. So it starts leading on that sort of upward trend. But in terms of most of the campaign games, or those sort of scenario-based games, this kind of falls at the bottom. Just because I don't really resonate with the theme, and nothing about the rule set feels particularly innovative. And I think when I'm diving into a campaign or scenario stuff, unless it's like really ramping up the fun, I kind of want that little twist. And this one doesn't give that to me, unfortunately. Where are we at? 18.9? I think we were at 18.9 before. Let's call it 18.9. You really need to write this down. Nah. Moving along, we're going over to Command of Nature. This is from the team of Here to Slay and Casting Shadows. Casting Shadows was a huge hit before. Command of Nature is now sort of a different take, raising $2.09 million, bringing us up to the 21 million point at 29. I'm feeling pretty confident about my over 100 million in board games, which is just bonkers. I can't believe one person spent $100 million on board game. And this one, I think I might like more than Casting Shadows. I don't know, Casting Shadows, I remember seeing, it was sort of like an intro to area control, and this feels like an intro to deck building. And I actually really like this from the team, from Here to Slay, from Casting Shadows, from Command of Nature, because I feel like these will be great gateway games for people. I think they will. I think they'll be a really nice introductory game to a lot of people who aren't as entrenched in the hobby as most of the people who are watching this video. I think it's a horrible decision to purchase on Kickstarter because you're paying for shipping and it's going to be widely available in stores. I saw Casting Shadows at Chapters the other day and thought, wow, even that was cheaper than getting it at Kickstarter. Chapters or Indigo or Barnes & Noble, same style of store. It's just Chapters in Canada. I don't know if that's a global thing. But you have different cards that you're going to build into your deck. Geez, these campaigns are just nonsense sometimes, right? Like, just going down to refresh myself upon the how to play and scrolling through just the mountains and mountains of shiny pictures that they're trying to make you feel like you're getting an impossible value when really you're just getting an ordinary, sometimes not that great value is really mind-blowing. Yeah, and basically you're creating this sort of pyramid. You can see it here, and you can see it up here if you're playing in a 2v2 mode. This pyramid of defense, all of those characters will have different abilities, but you need to also endow them with spells and defense spells, attack and defense spells to target the other player, right? That's what it comes down to. This, I think, is more interesting than the Adventure Time sort of head-to-head game because this deals a little bit with deck building. There's this open market, a communal market for you to fight over, and the art is very cute as well. Plus, this is the one where your sages can evolve, right? Oh, no, that was Casting Shadows. That was Casting Shadows. I take it back. Anyway, that's our number 29, Command of Nature. Moving along to our number 28. And the fact that this is so low on the list, you might think that this is a personal grift. You might think that I'm making a grift against the creators. And you know what? You would be right. We have Aeon Tresspass Odyssey, second printing, plus all new content. Whoopity-doo. Oh no. I see this seal of approval on their page, and it's not a seal of excellence. That's another grift, by my count. All of these reviews just grifting them left, right, and center. I wanna really, at this point, reach out to the Aeon Tresspass Odyssey creators, because I feel for you. I feel that you've been personally attacked over and over by anyone who ever criticizes the game. Anyone who says anything negative, I think, hates you personally. I'm fairly certain, and the reason I know this, and I don't want to reveal this because I might get kicked out of the group chat, but I'll do it for you. I'm in a group chat with everybody, and everybody in who creates reviews, and everybody who also has played the game. We're in a big group chat, and anytime somebody says, oh, this little aspect of this game isn't very good, they also follow it up with, plus, I hate the creator. So I just wanted to let you know. And so keep that in mind as I say my next sentence. That Aeon Tresspass Odyssey just looks fine. I've heard it's fantastic. A lot of people in my Discord, well, 2 people in my Discord say that it's good. But they talk about it a lot, okay? But we're at 2.8 million euros, so I'm going to say that's about 3 million US, putting us at $24 million raised. And Tresspass Odyssey is this huge campaign that if you can't leave out on a table, well, you don't want to ever purchase it and play it because there's no good save system. And so with this second printing, they gave another additional pledge, the Heracles pledge, to get you kind of started. And then there's also this 12 Sins of Summer pledge, which they said, oh, you better get it now because it's very limited. And then they added a second one. They said, it's really limited. And they're like, listen, this one's final. This one is the final pledge that you can ever get. It's very limited. And then they said, okay, this one is discounted. And it's really final this time. It's very, very limited. And you can see how limited they are, of 675 left, and 722 left, and 381 left. and 694 left. Very limited. Just really, act now, or you may miss out. It's this big sort of narrative scope campaign where you're going to command the Argonauts and run around on a little board. There's sort of 3 parts to it. There's the 7th continent map style part of flipping over cards, exploring the world, uncovering new things to explore. There's the choose your own adventure part of the game where you read a story to yourself or out loud if you're playing with a group, and you interact with that, making decisions. And then there's the combat part where you hop into your giant skin suit of a mech titan and try to punch monsters in the face, and hope that your Argonauts don't die. And if your Titans die, that's okay, because they were just big old meat suits anyway. Anyway, they also came out with like 12 new episodes that are going to be released in 4 boxes of 3, all 4 seasons of Heracles, which is just more content and more content and more content than anyone could ever need, ever. The reason why this one really doesn't interest me, this is the lowest of the campaign games on the list. One, the amount of content, the amount of buy-in that you'd have to do, it just feels, this is one of those things that feels like 4 people in the world will actually ever finish this game. You know, feels like there's too much stuff. And that's only amplified with the 2nd edition where they're like, hey, you know, you've got a bajillion amount of stuff. Well, here's some more stuff. In this base game, you have 300 hours of content, and then that's doubled and tripled over if you're adding in this additional Heracles stuff. And a couple people, the people who are able to leave it out on their table, will complete it, and most other people will not. Anyway, this is the update where I was referencing the Griffs. They said, as you can see, I'm working over Christmas break. Yes, so does everybody who's hustling. Like, come on. But here they became the target of not one, but 2 Griffs. And so let me add my hat into the 3rd grift, saying, the real reason I'm not interested is because I personally hate the creator. It's the real reason. It has to be. I mean, it has to be. And at least I'm open and honest about it, right? It's not that it seems mechanically clunky and too much stuff going on and the rulebook is 80 pages. Although the first 10 pages of it seem pretty good. Or that you need this supplementary errata to even get started. No, the real reason is that I hate creative people who have passion and who put their heart and soul into a passion project and then can't handle criticism when they do. I don't know, let's move on. I'm done with this. If I never talk about it again, it'll be too soon. And I also thought, and also the reason why Aeon Trespass Odyssey is sitting at 29, we've raised 24, is it 29? No, 28. Number 28. You and I both know these numbers don't matter, is because I thought it would be also very funny to put it under 27, which is Spiritfire, which is an open world living board game by the award-winning creators of Unsettled and Vindication. Oh, Spiritfire. I'm trading in one cult for another. That's what I'm trading in. Spiritfire is the first thing to ever do this, which is great. So at number 27, it's getting us up to 25. Let's say we're at 25 million right now. Spiritfire is the MLM of board games, where they really just want you to buy into it as it is a life, and it's a choice, and it's the only thing that'll make you happy. Take me to the FAQ. Yeah, I'm interested. What do you have in the FAQ right now? What do I need to enjoy this game with 2 players? Yes, you need 2 games because it's a solo game. What the heck is a wormhole? Well, it's what you need to have happen to you in order to get noticed by Orange Nebula. The entire development team does it to you, and it's not good. Oh no, sorry, there are 3 times a year new releases, live stream events. I was thinking of something different. Conceptual overview, saying, listen, their whole pitch here was that there's no combat here. You're just expressing your emotions, and you're feeling, and you're living, and you're experiencing things. And like, that's fine. You can go explore a world and have a really deep, rich, emotional journey, but you're still rolling dice, and you're still deck building. And you're using those cards and those symbols on your dice to navigate your path through this world. And so, you know, I think it looks okay. I found Vindication to be a lot simpler than I was expecting based upon the size of the box and the way people kind of talk about it. I thought it was a very light game, and I enjoyed it. But it didn't really blow me away. Like, my expectation was really up here, and then it was down lower. So I'm not going to do that again for Orange Nebula. I'm not going to let that expectation get ahead of me. The reason it is down here, again, it's a solo game. as well. If it wasn't a solo game, it would be higher on my list. I know they said you can do it with 2 players, but you can't. You're just 2 players playing the solo game next to each other. Like, don't waste your time. Solo with friends, see? Come on. Built for solo. But you can play with friends because they want to sell more. So there you go. I also thought that the little puzzles that they described didn't seem that interesting. It was a little pathway that you had to play symbols to kind of go around, and felt like doing a circuit. It felt like the map phase on Etherfields a little bit. It felt like the in-between dream phase on Etherfields. And that was the least interesting part of that. But that's our number 27, Spiritfire. I think for the people who get it, who know what they're getting, I think they will enjoy it quite a bit. That's what I can say about Spiritfire. I think for the people who get Aeon Tresspass Odyssey, I think it's going to stay on their shelf. Again, because I personally dislike the creator. That's the reason. It has to be the reason. It's gotta be. It's gotta be. People can't just find it not interesting. It just has to. It has to be because they hate the creator. It feels like I'm laying into that more than I've laid into any chart that's going to appear on any future game on this list. And I'm going to continue because I think it's really funny. I'm sorry. I think it's funnier than the Spiritfire being an MLM. Really, Aeon Tresspass has just derailed this because I have not focused on how much this is just like a cult. But for those who want to join the cult, hey, sometimes cults can be good. Speaking of which, I have my own cult, all right? And it'll make you feel, well, you'll start out feeling bad about yourself, and you'll stay there, but I'll make money. So join the Room and Board Patreon. Let's move along to number 26. We're at number 26 with Dragon Eclipse, viewing the original campaign, seeing how much it raised in US dollars. $3.6 million, 26 getting us to 28.6. And let's bump it up to 28.7. I'm sure there's been enough in there to warrant that. Dragon Eclipse is from Awakened Realms. This feels like a much better solo experience that I would want to partake and go on because it's Pokemon the board game. That's what it is. I think Robomon still appeals to me more, but Pokemon the board game seems pretty cool, and honestly, I'm not even mad about the special edition because the minis look incredible, but the standard edition at 55 for an Awakened Realms campaign-style game feels awesome. I still think that feels awesome. I feel like those who get either of these will enjoy their pledge. I think Awakened Realms is going to earn their money here, definitely. And I think it looks cool. The only reason it's so low is, again, it feels it's a campaign and it's solo. And those are two things that I generally don't do that much of. But as far as these go, it looks really, really cool. It's also, you know what, it probably should be lower because to be fair to like Aeon Tresspass, it's actually got a rule book, even if it's not that good. Dragon Eclipse doesn't, right? Spiritfire doesn't. But this one has Bulb, so I guess it stays where it is. And Golemo, how cute. I mean, I like Awakened Realms a lot. I think they make fun stuff, although it's really just Nemesis I'm talking about. And Etherfields, I like Ether. I don't like Tainted Grail. Pinequeek got changed. It used to be Furple, but now it's Pinequeek. Yeah, I have no qualms at how, like, hi, buddy. You want to say hi to the people? Not who you're expecting. It's my own little Pinequeek potato. Say hi to the people. No, you're wiggly. You're wiggly. All right. But yeah, you train up your Pokemon. You try to win the game. However, it is just a solo in the game. If there was a solo game that I would play, I think this would be at the top of it. And I love the price for this. It's only this low because it is solo, and I just don't play it that much. Like, this list is my excitement, right? How much I would be willing to purchase this game. And it's about 26. That's how much I would be in. But we're sitting at 28.7 as we move on to number 25 with $5 million US. So 33.7, we've got the Gloomhaven Grand Festival. And I have Gloomhaven First Edition, and I rarely play it. And this should be lower, but this had Gloomhaven Button and Bugs, which I think is actually the best part about this campaign. It was $15 for, give me Button and Bugs. It was 15 bucks for a small Gloomholden game. And that's what is getting my excitement here. They also had a ton more stuff. They had the RPG set, which was stupid because they were selling it on its own, but you needed the custom cards to play it. And they weren't the cards that were the same in your Gloomhaven box. so why sell it on its own? They had Gloomhaven 2nd Edition, which I don't play the first one. They had the miniatures of Gloomhaven to make your large box even larger. Gloomhaven, I think, has been getting a bit scared that it used to be the biggest box in board gaming, and now it's like pathetically small in comparison to all these other big box campaigns. And so they're like, well, you know what? We can have minis too, okay? We can get Jexera up in there. We've got Frosthaven, a second printing. That would be the second thing that I'd be interested in on my list. Because, yeah, I haven't played all of Gloomhaven. I've played like 10 scenarios. And, of course, that means I need the new one, right? That means I'm going to really get the new one to the table a lot more than I got Gloomhaven to the table, right? Guaranteed, that's what that means. So yeah, what more is there to say about Gloomhaven? It's number 25. It seems all right. But the buttons and bugs really should ratchet this up a bunch. If it was just buttons and bugs, this would be so much higher on the list. I know that's a solo game too, but just like condensing it seems very exciting. It was a great price. But it isn't. It's got all the garbage of RPG in the miniatures campaign, so then that really drags it down. And Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, kind of like a null thing. So let's move on to number 24. We've got STALKER, the board game. Let's view the original campaign, see how much it raised. Yeah, $3.7 million. $37.5 million is our tally. We're at 24 on the list. Oh, might we hit 50 at the midpoint? I don't know. That would be exciting. STALKER, the board game, is a 1 to 4 player solo co-op survival adventure set in Chornobyl. That's not how you spell Chernobyl. Yeah, Chornobyl, and not Chernobyl. Very interesting. There you go, STALKER, because it's set in Poland. And even though this one didn't have the board game or the rule book attached to it, I watched a ton of playthroughs, and it seemed fine. What's exciting me about this campaign is I like stealth games. I think the stealth aspect is fun. I think managing the line of sights might be interesting, and I like that you can creep up and you can try to like overhear what the guards are saying. I think that's always fun in a video game where the guards are just like, what's my password again? 3657. Don't forget that, you idiot. And you just happen to creep up to the window and hear them saying, it's like, hey, why don't you go check out that plane? It's got some leaking fuel and can't take off. I sure hope nobody sets a bomb next to it, because then that would destroy half of our troops. And having that aspect and go, maybe I should go plant a bomb there. Sounds like that would be horrible for them, and they're also not expecting it. So that's always kind of fun. And so this one is a dungeon crawler, and it kind of shoots up ahead of all the other dungeon crawlers that are out there, that are further back on the list in the campaigns, because it's got a unique theme, it's got that extra stealth to it, it's got some fun line of sight, bringing people, luring people, and managing the guards. I think it could be cool. 95 feels all right. Again, Awakened Realms does some of that work for you. Yeah, just seems like a neat experience, and not completely solo. You know, you could play it with somebody else. You probably still solo, but you could play with somebody else. There's a lot of solo games. Honestly, shout out to the solo games and the solo gamers. Like, think about all these games on this list that are focused around the solo gaming. It's clear that solo gaming is here to stay. And that's great, because I know a ton of people who love to just solo game, and I want them to have awesome, fun experiences. And maybe you'll see these solo games more on crowdfunding as well, because it's still semi-niche. It's not something that like retail stores can completely hold and handle. But yeah, that's number, whatever the hell it was. 24. That's number 24. On to number 23. You can see that I was scrolling down again from before. We have Dead Cells, the board game. Now, Dead Cells, the board game, kind of edges out a few things on this list because of its roguelite experience. I think that, to me, feels a bit unique. I think it could also be horrible. But it's interesting me enough to pull me in and want to continue this journey. It says 1 to 4 players, but you all have the same piece as you move along this board. You just kind of are taking up the fight against numerous people. Again, this feels like it could be a solo game, but you have these different characters that you could either all hold or manage yourself, and you're gonna, each step of the way, you're going to flip up new people to fight. And so it's this wave upon wave of monsters that you have to get through and murder. I remember the end game not feeling that distinct here, and I think that's because it's emphasizing the roguelite aspect of it. I think I probably would just want to play the game more than this. This art style gives me very Slay the Spire vibes as well. and maybe that's what I'm conflating as well. I'm conflating that feeling. I do like that they have 15 tech boxes. That's great as you shuffle through everything. Here's what really gives me pause and really dampened my enthusiasm about it, is where they say, die. You can't beat the Hand of the King on your first try. You've got to die to grow strong. And while I understand that's like, you have to go through this level, and then there's this level, and there's a new level, right? There's branching paths, and you're going to be doing different things. It doesn't make me excited because you're basically saying, okay, I can't win. I can't win on my first game. I'm just going to die. And that doesn't really intrigue me that much. However, I thought this looked cool. I don't think I really know anything about the video game itself. I think I want to like things like Metroid, of going through until you get items and then being able to unlock other paths. And I also, now that I think about it, I think this is too high, and I think I'd rather just play the board game. But that's stuck at number 24. It raised about $1 million or more. How much did it raise? Yeah, 1.4 Canadian, so about $1 billion US. That's putting us to 38.5 million, and it's our number 24. Moving along to our number 23, we have Andromeda's Edge. Coming in at 1.6 million, our tally is 40 million, 40.1 million. And Andromeda's Edge is Dwellings of Eldervale in space. And it's a testament to Dwellings of Eldervale being okay that this managed to beat all those other games. Because I have played Dwellings of Eldervale. I used to own Dwellings of Eldervale. I have gotten rid of Dwellings of Eldervale. I pawned it off on some sucker. And it just didn't really hit with me. And Andromeda's Edge is the exact same game with a few tweaks to it, right? I think the changes that are made here are going to be meaningful in some slight feel, but not meaningful enough to change my opinion upon the game. So just like in Dwellings, you're going to have a bunch of different workers, and you put them out onto the board. You then get to activate that region wherever you put it, because it's sort of worker placement, and there's an area control element because you can move in and fight people in that area as well. But the key to it is that when you recall your people, it's not just a dead action. You've actually been developing this entire tableau that you get to activate when you recall. And sometimes, and eventually becomes better than the things that you can do when you put out on your turn. Put out your people on your turn, not just put out on your turn. That is one way to win the game, but also only in a 2-player game, I guess. Because then the third person, well, maybe in a 3-player. I guess a 4. I mean, it could be a way to win any game. It really could. But it could also just be distracting. And we'd like to keep our attention focused on game night, please and thank you. I had a very specific plan for this evening, and that was not factored into it. I do think it was weird that they pulled famed, renowned Taco Bell reviewer, the Hungry Gamer's quote from his cheesy, chunky chalupa review. I did think that was weird. But he did say that. He did say it. I do like the standard edition, sitting at $69. That feels very reasonable. The minis in Dwellings of Eldervale were completely stupid and pointless, and so I think the standard edition is actually the way to go. Oh yeah, this was the chart that rang across the world. Yeah, this chart. So stupid. Where it's almost the same information. It's the same information on both sides. But it just makes you think that you're getting more because they separated it into 2 categories for the standard and the expansion. Oh. Yeah, ultimately Dwellings of Eldervale, though, wasn't for me. I wish it was. It was one that I was very excited to get. And it was one that maybe could have been for me if I had been able to take it to other places and try it out and delve into it a little bit more, but the box was so big that I wasn't going to take up my entire backpack going to somebody else's house for game night, and so I knew I would only play it at my own house, and the people who come over to my house or live in my house just thought it was fine. So that's why it went. I do think, look at the $69 price for the standard edition, that's probably what you want to get, although many people just love the plastic. So that's number 22. Moving along to number 21, Horizon Forbidden West Seeds of Rebellion. £1 million. That's like 1.27 million US. Let's make that 1.3. We're at $41.4 million raised. And what interests me about this is not the price, certainly not, but the stealth aspect. I remember reading through a little bit and watching some of the gameplays, and this feels like it captures that stealth aspect of Horizon Zero Dawn in a way that apparently wasn't there the first time that they did it, which seems so ludicrous to me that they're like, oh yeah, you know what we should include in this stealth sort of video game? A stealth system. Yeah, let's do that on the second go around. And the reason why this one's a little bit higher is because I didn't expect Monster Hunter to be as good as it was. I thought Monster Hunter would just be fine, and I quite enjoyed it. And so it sort of gave me a little bit of renewed interest in Steamforged titles. I've played about half of Horizon Zero Dawn as the video game. I just haven't gotten back to it. The minis here, I just don't care about. I don't. Even though I think Steamforged do make really nice minis. But what is interesting here, the main thing that's interesting, is the cooperative stealth system, lay and bait traps before coordinating your assault. And so navigating that, okay, where's this person, that these monsters are too big and too strong to deal with head on, and that you have to have careful planning and not trip their sensors and not have them attack, and that they eventually will attack, and then you have to throw resources at them. If they can replicate that in a board game form, I think that would be very exciting. So that's why it's up here. The sort of progression of building cards, I think, will also feel fun, because it does feel fun in Monster Hunter, and I'm just basing it off of that, really. Yeah, and it also seems fairly simple to learn, too. Like, not an over rules complexity, which I find like a lot of tactical skirmish things have. This one felt fairly streamlined and straightforward. So not too bad. That's our 21 Horizon Forbidden West Seeds of Rebellion. That funded pretty recently, actually. That finished December 5th, and did manage to break that $1 million bar. Moving on to number 20. This is a game that is number 20 for me. Yeah, that's why you said moving along to number 20. Stop stalling for time and say something of value. $1.5 million. We're sitting at 42.9. This is the Food Chain Magnate Special Edition, and it soars up because Food Chain Magnate is a great game. It soars down because Food Chain Magnate is a great game that already exists, and the deluxe components of this are silly. A lot of them are. The houses are especially. So, although they did fix this with their deluxe edition pledge, making it €179, you still could have gotten the regular Food Chain Magnate for like €120 or €140, so it's still more expensive. But there are some nice quality of life things in here. Food Chain Magnate is a great game. It's a game that can also be won within the first like 3 turns, and then you play for another 3 hours, right? So some people may not enjoy that, but I do, because I'm the one who knocks. And it's all around these tech trees. So you'll buy these level 1 people, and they'll do something special, and then you can upgrade them into sort of level 2 people who do something even more special. And you're trying to sell the most burgers and pizza and beverages as possible throughout the land. This is the best part of it, though. You can also earn these milestones. These milestones are super powerful abilities that you earn for being the first person to do something. And if you are the first person to do something, and in the base game, this game that I have right up here, you just have like a stack of cards, and you hand out those cards to everybody. And so having to manage those cards when you're already managing the cards of everybody else and the main deck is, why am I putting that there? You have a spot on the shelf, is a bit annoying. And so for here, just having just a milestone tracker that you can slide in and put a little token on feels like that's the quality of life that I wanted to see. I wanted to see the card organizer that you can put your cards in and pass around the table rather than having everything sprawl out everywhere, right? Like, this is the sort of stuff that I wanted to see, and I think they did correct it. It's just too bad that Splotter ran a sale right as they were doing their game, their campaign, which made everything that they were offering a bad value. But I do like that aspect of it. I know Food Chain Magnate was harder to find as well, and if you like this art style, which I know a lot of people do, it's a really good game. Quite a nice, fun game. I like the old art style, and I like the cheaper price. And if you can get it for that sort of €60 price, I think that's the right price to pay for it. I think it's a really fun. So it beats out everything below it. I think it was just the base Food Chain Magnate. It's almost top of this list. Like, I think I'd be more excited to play Food Chain Magnate over pretty much anything here, right? Like, this is also an interesting part about these lists, is that your existing games are likely better than most things here. And that's why it's so important not to get swept up in the FOMO and the fear of missing out, and just to get something that's going to be or not motivate you, or not get you like really, really excited. Looking back at all these, I go, I'm really not that excited. But I'm excited a middle ground amount. But the strength of the game helps push it ahead of a bunch of stuff. But the fact that this campaign didn't even really need to exist in the first place, well, it knocks it down. Moving along to number 19. This one is a surprise on my list. And I think it's at the right point where we've got Townsfolk Tussle, the new expansion stuff for Townsfolk Tussle. But I'm throwing Townsfolk Tussle as a whole in here as well. Townsfolk Tussle is also something I own, which is in Reach, but the expansion would fall on my head if I grabbed it. So I'm not going to do that. Townsfolk Tussle is a boss battler. That's what it is. It's a boss battler with great style. That's what and so the expansion content actually adds a lot to the game. It makes everything about it better. Especially this Odd Jobs little mini expansion, which give your characters a little bit more asymmetry, a little bit more ways to grow throughout the game, a little bit more streamlining as well. I really liked that aspect of it, that you could become someone else, because the base stats and the base abilities on your characters sometimes feel a little bit underwhelming. It also adds in 8 new ruffians, 8 new people to fight, and that's fine. I mean, the 4 that I got in the demo, all were pretty fun. And again, all were kind of better than the existing ruffians, right? I think it's the product of this being the second iteration of a system that makes it feel good. However, I think I've cooled a little bit on Townsfolk Tussle because I got it mostly for the art style. And I really, really like the art style. That's the reason why I would pull it out again. The gameplay itself, having played it a little bit more and more, starts to feel a bit repetitive, right? And it's one of those things that you don't want to play too much, and I feel overstays its welcome pretty frequently. And I think the fixes of not playing 4 ruffians but playing 3 ruffians works. I think you should only play 2 ruffians in a session. I think you should play a beginning version and then a boss, and just like buy some gear or whatever you want, because the cycle of it feels a bit repetitive. And the items that you get and the things that you can do on your turn don't ever make you feel like significantly strong. What it more is using the environment to your advantage and figuring out, okay, that's where the barn is. I got to run over there and roll and try to get the farmer to shoot the ruffian in the head, right? Like, you need to use these set pieces because the ruffians are so strong. I also feel like there's a really weird disparate of skill or complexity or difficulty, that's the word I'm looking for, between 2 players and 3 player. And that balance feels a bit off to me. 3 players felt way too easy and 2 players felt really difficult. And I really enjoyed it at 2 players because of that difficulty. And it felt like we were really struggling. And at 3 players, it kind of felt inevitable. And that lessened my enthusiasm for it, because I was like, oh, okay, now that I see the difficulty was kind of just coming from a lack of players and not from the game itself, that sort of dampened my enthusiasm for it. But if you've got Townsfolk Tussle coming and the expansion content, I think the expansion content is way better than the stuff in the base game. I don't think it's worth paying the double price here for everything. But sucks to be you, you already did it. I wish that it was kind of like a standalone with the new edition and the new stuff. But Miss Falls & Co. was just so fun. Yeah, but it's a vibe, right? It's a vibe, and I would really just recommend, if you like things a little bit easier, play it 3 players. If you like things difficult, play it 2 players. And if you like things in between, good luck. House rule it or something. So that's our number 19, Townsfolk Tussle, bringing us up to $43.9 million raised out of the first half. But in honor of my enjoyment of Townsfolk Tussle, or my back and forth of Townsfolk Tussle, we're going to call it there. We're at 19. We're going to go to 18-1 in the next episode. I thought we would hit maybe 50 million, and we might be halfway there. But we're currently at around 43.9 million. You know what? Let's just round it up. Let's round it up. $44 million raised out of these 18 campaigns. No, 20 campaigns. No, 21, because I included the Gamefold board. Out of 21 campaigns, raised $44 million. Are we on track to hit over 100 million? I don't know. We're going to find out in the next portion. Let me know in the comments which of these games you bought now are instantly regretting because they didn't make the top half of the $1 million campaigns, because of course my opinion is infallible. And which ones are you still actively excited for, and why? Drop it in the comments below. I know that a lot of these are just come down to, it's not my taste, but for a lot of people, it really might be. So drop your excitement. I want to hear it. And then drop your excitement and stop it. Thanks so much for being here. Welcome to 2024, baby. My name's Chris George, and I don't have a catchphrase, but It's good to be back talking about board games, and I'll see you in the next one.